Have you ever looked at a map of Canada and noticed something a little strange? It's the second largest country on Earth, a vast expanse of land stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific, all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. But if you look at a population density map, it tells a completely different story. It looks like almost everyone is crammed into a tiny sliver of land along its southern edge. And that's because they are. Roughly 80% of all Canadians live within just 100 miles, or about 160 kilometers, of the US border. That's an incredible concentration for such a massive country. It's like throwing a huge party in a mansion, but everyone decides to hang out in the entryway. So the big question is, why? Why does this nation of nearly 40 million people live so close to their southern neighbors? Is it just because they really like American television? Well, the answer is a fascinating mix of economics, climate, history, and pure geographical reality. And today, we're going to unravel this unique Canadian puzzle. Let's start with the biggest driver of all, money. The relationship between Canada and the United States is one of the most significant economic partnerships in the world. We're not just talking about a little bit of cross-border shopping. We're talking about a colossal economic lifeline. Every single day, over $2 billion worth of goods and services cross this border. That's more than the entire annual GDP of some small countries, every single day. The US is by far Canada's largest trading partner. Around 75% of all Canadian exports are destined for the American market. Think about that for a second. 3/4 of everything Canada sells to the world goes to just one country. This creates a powerful gravitational pull. Naturally, industries want to be as close to their biggest customer as possible. It's simple logistics. The shorter the distance, the lower the transportation costs for raw materials and finished products, and the faster the delivery times. This is why you see major manufacturing hubs, particularly in southern Ontario and Quebec, located just a stone's throw from the border. The auto industry is a perfect example. The supply chains are so deeply integrated that a car part might cross the border multiple times before the vehicle is fully assembled. A component could be made in Michigan, shipped to a plant in Ontario for partial assembly, then sent back to Ohio for final installation. Being close to the border isn't just convenient. It's essential for this kind of just-in-time manufacturing to work efficiently. This proximity has fostered the growth of massive industrial corridors, creating millions of jobs and attracting people who are looking for work. From Windsor, Ontario, looking across the river at Detroit, to the bustling trade routes connecting Vancouver with Seattle, the economic heartbeat of Canada is strongest right along this southern line. Living far from the border would mean being disconnected from this primary engine of the Canadian economy. So for many, the choice of where to live is fundamentally an economic one. But there's another, even more fundamental reason why people cluster in the south, and it's something you can feel in your bones. The climate. Canada has a reputation for being cold, and let's be honest, that reputation is well earned. While southern Canada enjoys 4 distinct seasons, including warm, pleasant summers, the further north you go, the more that picture changes dramatically. The vast majority of Canadian landmass is covered by the Canadian Shield and a boreal forest, or taiga, which eventually gives way to Arctic tundra. These regions experience incredibly long, harsh winters with extreme cold and heavy snowfall. We're talking about temperatures that can regularly plunge to minus 40 degrees Celsius, a point where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet in mutual misery. The ground in much of the north is permafrost, meaning it's permanently frozen, making construction and agriculture incredibly difficult, if not impossible. In contrast, the southern regions, especially areas like the Great Lakes St. Lawrence lowlands and the prairies of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba have a more temperate climate. These areas have warmer summers and milder, shorter winters. This makes a huge difference not just for human comfort, but for agriculture. The southern strip of Canada contains most of the country's arable land suitable for growing crops. The longer growing seasons in places like the Niagara Peninsula or the Okanagan Valley allow for the cultivation of everything from grains and corn to fruits and wine grapes. You simply can't do that in Yukon or Nunavut. Early European settlers, who were primarily farmers, naturally gravitated to these fertile southern lands where they could actually survive and build a life. This historical settlement pattern laid the foundation for the population distribution we see today. People settled where they could farm, and as those settlements grew, they became the towns and cities that now dominate the Canadian landscape. The simple, inescapable reality is that southern Canada is just a much more hospitable place to live. Now let's pull up a map and connect the dots. Where are Canada's biggest, most famous cities? Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa. What do they all have in common? They are all located in that southern band. These urban hubs are the nerve centers of the country. Toronto isn't just Canada's largest city. It's the financial capital, a global hub for business, technology, and media. Montreal is a vibrant center of culture, commerce, and aerospace. Vancouver, with its world-class port, is Canada's gateway to the Pacific and Asia. These cities act like magnets, pulling in people from across Canada and around the world with the promise of jobs, education, and services. They have the top universities, the biggest hospitals, the most diverse restaurants, and the major sports teams. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. As more people move to these cities for opportunities, the cities grow larger, which in turn creates even more opportunities, attracting even more people. Geography plays a crucial role here too. The St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes created a natural transportation highway deep into the continent for early explorers and traders. This waterway became the backbone of central Canada. And it's no coincidence that Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa are all situated along this corridor. In the west, Vancouver's location on the coast with a deep, ice-free harbor made it the logical endpoint for the Transcontinental Railway and the primary port for trade. The Canadian Shield, that massive geological formation of ancient rock we mentioned earlier, covers a huge part of central and eastern Canada. It's rich in minerals but has very thin soil, making it unsuitable for large-scale farming and settlement. So, early on, settlement patterns were forced to develop in the pockets of more fertile, accessible land, which were overwhelmingly in the south. And we can't talk about Canada without acknowledging its complex cultural fabric. The country is not a monolith. Quebec, for instance, is a distinct society with its own language, culture, and civil law system. It's a nation within a nation, and where is the heart of Francophone Canada? It's centered around Montreal and Quebec City, both located in the southern part of the province, along the St. Lawrence River. This historical and cultural reality further reinforces the southern population pattern. The cultural and linguistic core of French Canada developed and thrives in close proximity to the economic engines of the South. Even with its unique identity, Quebec's major population centers follow the same geographical and economic logic as the rest of the country. This mix of English and French Canada, along with the incredible diversity brought by immigration from all over the world, primarily plays out in these southern cities, creating a vibrant, multicultural tapestry that is a hallmark of modern Canada. So when you put it all together, the picture becomes crystal clear. The extreme concentration of Canada's population isn't an accident or a strange quirk. It's the logical outcome of powerful, interconnected forces that have shaped the nation for centuries. The deep economic integration with the United States created a powerful pull for industries and jobs to cluster near the border. The harsh climate and challenging geography of the North made large-scale settlement impractical, pushing people south to where the land was more fertile and the weather more forgiving. These early settlement patterns gave rise to the major urban centers that now dominate Canada's economy and culture, creating a gravitational pull of their own. It's a story of pragmatism, of people building lives and communities where it makes the most sense. So the next time you see that population map, you'll know it's not just a thin line of people. It's a lifeline, a story of survival, opportunity, and the very foundation of what makes Canada, Canada. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the fascinating world we live in. See you next time.